Buzz Beeman here, and we're back with episode 2 of TC Streets. Today we travel hither, thither, and yon, investigating celebrities, health, and trains. So sit back and choose to enjoy TV's greatest show on Twin Cities lifestyle. Trains! Where do I begin? I think the beginning. Trains have been used to nourish, move, and kill mankind since their inception in Babylon in 2200 BCE. Originally pulled by horses, rope, or cable, these multi-wheeled monsters changed commerce and continue to make the locals loco for everything from lard to lingerie. 19th century historical figures Casey Jones and John Henry have riveted the imaginations of children and adults alike and have contributed immensely to the lucrative model train business. After the Civil War, the mail service in the United States sped up immensely with the use of rail delivery. They even sorted mail on the trains in order to keep pace. I remember my grandma saying, "Aunt Marge would write me twice a week. I still have those letters. I wish I could read." On November 1st, 1883, trains in the United States changed time itself. It was on this date that national time zones were introduced. Before November 1883, there were 75 different time zones in the U.S. After implementation of the national time zones, no one again had to say, "Jumpin' Jehoshaphat, how many watches you wearing?" What can be said of the sleeping car? The sleeping car has recruited many members into the 20-foot club, and more than a few of its members have taken a trip to the infirmary. It is now common knowledge that one should always stretch before entering a sleeping car. Here we see a dining car, the scene of many convivial meals. Imagine cutting into a filet mignon while the beauty of the Cascades or Rocky Mountains whiz by. An obscure fact still true to this day is that no dining cars in the US or Canada are allowed to serve pork and beans. That rule has been enforced since day one. Buzz Beeman signing off saying, "Choo choo, warm those beans, I'm coming home." Buzz Beeman here with Ebenezer the Teaser, king of tickles, raspberries, and na. Mr. Teaser, what do you have to say to the rumors that you are causing general irritation among the people of the Twin Cities with your constant juvenile, if they're even that level, pranks? Ebenezer, the wedgie has been seen as extremely distasteful for decades. Hey, where are you going? Get back here, Ebenezer the Teaser. You get back here right now. He's very elusive. Buzz Beeman signing off saying, "I need a massage."
Hello, I'm Cynthia with AI Psychology. If you are having suicidal thoughts, press 1, and we will have your cost-benefit analysis returned within minutes.
Buzz Beeman with TC Streets reporting from Acme Auction House in St. Paul. Today we're investigating a shocking development in the art world related to climate change protests. As you've undoubtedly heard, last month the Mona Lisa was pelted with mashed potatoes to protest climate change. Now it seems the protests have crossed the Atlantic. Climate activists have broken into Acme Auction House and welded 24 blow dryers onto the priceless 20th century sculpture Crew Cut by artist Chuck Mercy IV. At this time, the perpetrators are still at large and considered semi-dangerous. Buzz Beeman signing off saying, "That's ugly." Corner's not square. The corner's not square. The corner's not square. The corner's not square. The corner's not square. Once again, the American Institute of Architecture's Guide to Downtown St. Paul. Union Pacific, Chicago Great Western Lift Bridge. One of just 3 lift bridges across the entire course of the Mississippi. This aging structure blocks upstream views of the far more handsome Robert Street Bridge and is so creaky that trains have to creep across it. The little cabin atop the lift span is still manned by a bridge tender. My friend Julia has had bad luck with tattoos. Her first mistake was having her boyfriend's name tattooed on her chest. Luckily, she could change that one to Frankenstein. But today, I hear she's divorcing because her husband has no sense of humor. He didn't laugh when she took off her shirt and her tattoo now read, "The Bride of Frankenstein." I went on a darkness retreat last week. It was unpleasant. I had a hard time finding the toilet, and now I constantly wear a headlamp. You may be wondering, Buzz, why the zoo? Well, I'll tell you, it relates to this week's history highlight. Our highlight this week pertains to one of the most tragic comic period episodes in mankind, and yes, I mean mankind's past. And it involves chimps. Now for a history highlight. During the 1920s and 30s, surgeon Sergei Voronov grafted slices of chimpanzee testicles onto the testicles of over 500 men in France alone. Some of his clients were world leaders, such as Turkish President Mustafa Ataturk and French Prime Minister Georges Clemenceau. The operations were intended to increase the recipient's vitality. It didn't work, and pain and impotence weren't the end of the patient's problems. Ultimately, the most painful problem was their wives' smiling faces. Buzz Beeman signing off saying, "Ouchie."
I got the diarrhea blues. 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 I got the diarrhea diarrhea blues.
We all have now heard of Nick Hammer, the comic plumber. He skyrocketed to stardom in 2020 with his comedy tour, Wash Your Hands, Dummy. But little is known of the early days of Nick Hammer, the comic plumber. That isn't until now. We at TC Streets are proud to fill in some of the knowledge gaps in Nick's early career with the now soon-to-be seminal biopic called The Plumber.
Hello, I'm Nick Humor, the comic dummy. The man who just went to work is the dummiest who made me, Nick Hammer, the comic plumber. This film, which started as an attempt at civil commitment, or at least power of attorney, has slowly morphed into a campaign against entropy, depression, and bloody diarrhea. Here we see Nick meditating, which could benefit him greatly, though I think he needs a better mantra than "There once was a man from Nantucket." For 15 years, Nick Hammer had enjoyed plumbing, the pride of a job well done, the ever-changing conversations with customers, the occasional liaison in lieu of payment. But recently, plumbing had begun to take a psychic toll on Mr. Hammer. It started 3 months ago. Nick had had 3 consecutive jobs that involved work with bloody diarrhea. It wasn't the visual mess or the odor that disconcerted him. It was the repeated confrontation with thoughts of his mortality. These people were obviously very ill. While many in this situation would fold under the mental pressure and change careers, or conversely, get back on the proverbial horse and work through the crisis, Nick chose a third route. This road was shown to him one afternoon as he was walking downtown to grab lunch. On his way to lunch, Mr. Hammer chanced upon another lost soul who was trying to give solace to the community at large. As the sun poured down on Nick, he felt as if the skies had opened for him for the first time in a long time. He had a mission. His mission was to bring his fellow man joy through comedy.
My mom was quoted in the paper saying I was crazy. That was right after I scribbled all over the mayor's face. Went into the bank for a car loan the other day. They put me in a brain scan. Told me I qualified for a bike. I asked God, how can I learn to be more forgiving? He said, It takes time. I'm still trying to forgive you. By the way, could you sleep more? And when you're awake, could you keep your mouth shut?
After his first joyous, if somewhat forgettable performance, Nick Hammer left the city invigorated.
I know where we can go.
He found me in the park, told me of his day. He said, "I feel I have found a beacon in the storm, a moon on a rocket ship ride, a railing as I fall down the stairs. Bloody diarrhea may be in my future, but so is laughter. Downtown his ego soared with every laugh. He felt ready for the stage. And so, without further ado, I present Nick Hammer, Comic Plumber."
So, Rich Little and Little Richard are in a boat, and Rich Little turned to Little Richard and he says, "Do you do any impressions?" Little Richard replies, "Yeah, your ass on my face." There was an egg that hatched nothing, which gave us the Big Bang, which led to humor shortly after the first fart. Guy walks into a bar, says, "Bartender, give me a drink, I'm really depressed." Bartender says, "Join the club." Guy says, "What club?" Bartender says, "The human race." A lot of people have problems. I got a problem. My problem is I have many problems. One being that I just farted about 10 seconds ago. A very small turd in my pants. One problem that's going around now, it's been going on for a while, is meth. I don't know if any of you have been affected by meth. I know people who have, and it's a devastating drug. But there's one reason we should be very thankful for meth. It's that Hitler and the Nazis loved meth so much, they thought they could go into Russia. Got a friend here, he nuts. He's a little bit crazy. He has delusions of glandular. Sees himself with coconuts. He says, "I know they're not really nuts, but they include the amount of liquid that I envision." Young Floyd was walking along the Rhine River when he noticed how much he liked holding onto his thumb. In a flash of genius, psychology was born. The PTA disbanded last week. They agreed it was the children's fault. I got a friend who knows a woman who has access to free old school lunch milk. He's been taking these milk baths. Always going on and on about the milk bath. Can't blame him. I want a milk bath too. But what I really want is a breast milk bath. Have we no control? Can't we quit trying to make the monkeys talk? What are we hoping for? Monkey world peace? Got my history buff. One thing, little known fact, is that Nazi leader Hermann Goering loved his mother and cows a little bit too much. Mother wasn't very nice either. No one can understand that one. As to the cows, it was because of the leather. Did you hear about the Russian comic? After his first joke, he was never heard from again. My mom was quoted in the paper saying that it was crazy. That kind of hurt. That was right after I scribbled all over the mayor's face. You know, you read some of those French books, they make you feel like killing yourself. They're very persuasive, the French. I got a friend, Monique, who's a French literature major. Unfortunately, she suffers from constipation. She has a humorous outlook on it, though. She has one of those tramp stamps back here that says no exit. when she presses lightly on her lower abdomen, she can pass gas at will. Adieu, amigos. Adios, ami. Ciao.
As Nick Hammer, comic plumber, returns home after the show, many thoughts are on his mind. Thoughts of entropy and depression are crowded out by a new sense of joy and compassion for his fellow man. Nick Hammer, comic plumber, has one more job to do, but unlike the past, he approaches it with gusto. For he has been given one more day without bloody diarrhea.
The end.